Have you seen what's it called? Arcadia, the Arcadia movement.
I used to live in a place where there was a little town culd Arcadia nearby, but I don't think that's what you're talking about.
And the rodeo was the granddaddy of them all.
No, it's a lot of people want the
Arcadia's in Northeast, right?
Northeast? It's they want
Newfoundland,
they want
Maine.
Yeah, they want all those states to secede together.
Yeah, I just don't see that as being realistic.
I can't see that many people getting on board with it.
I don't either.
I think this is the only place it could happen.
I
honestly.
don't want anything to do with Vermont and Maine.
Maybe I'm just,
Vermont and Maine are not as freedom-oriented as New Hampshire, so I wouldn't want to team up with them in any way, shape, or form. I don't think you're going to get that kind of support.
Yeah, I think the bigger that you make it, the easier it would be for another, power to rise.
The harder it'll be to accomplish, too.
Exactly. That's true. And that's the first argument. The second argument is really just that I think that there would be so much more control if we seceded together. I want to keep it as small as possible.
Right.
Heck, I'd like to just, free Keene and Manchester.
It's
That'd
bad
be cool.
enough to have a controller in Concord, to have this controlling government in Concord, New Hampshire. It'd be worse to have it located in Vermont or wherever the capital of Arcadia would end up being. Yeah, I want nothing to do with that. And if you're having trouble getting secessionists on board with this Arcadia idea, then it's probably not going to fly.
Yeah.
Well, I think that there's some arguments for it, like the region has a lot of similarities and things like that. But you have these arbitrary geopolitical lines that are drawn on maps, and for whatever reason, those have momentum and gravitas for people, and it's unlikely that you're going to see them somehow disappear and drawn into a different way.
Then you'd have to create a whole new political system. At the very least, if New Hampshire were to secede, or Vermont, or wherever, they already have a constitution, right? So New Hampshire, they have themselves a constitution before the United States had a constitution, and so you wouldn't have to start from scratch. If you were going to do an Arcadia thing, which would include Maine, Newfoundland, Canada, all these other places, Vermont, New Hampshire, etc., then they'd all have to be building a new constitution, and we know what happens when you do that. These days, they'd throw everything in but the kitchen sink. There'd be the people in Vermont would be like, well, we need to have universal health care in there, obviously.
It would just start all over again.
Yeah,
it would.
And that's a terrible idea.
Everybody's got a right to 4 weeks off every time you get a toothache. Like the whole deal.
All that crap would be thrown in there. So nope, sorry, not excited about that idea.
It's the same thing as minarchy, and this is why I'm not on board with minarchy, because as long as you
what is that?
Minarchy is where you believe in a small state instead of you just want a smaller state. You don't want anarchy, which is no state. So the thing is that if you go with minarchy, eventually you're going to end up exactly where we are right now. Because we were the government was minarchist when we started this country, and so was every government, because that's where it starts, is small. Every government has to start small. That's how it works. And then eventually they build up their power and, and they take us all over.
It seems to be the pattern, right? Like Thomas Jefferson said something to the effect of, for every generation, they need a new government. And then the very famous that the tree of liberty must occasionally be watered by the blood of tyrants and patriots, or whatever the statement is. I don't know. It's not like that many tries have been taken at creating a minarchist state. Maybe it can be done better, but I think that people have the right to secession. I think you have the right to choose that you don't want to be governed by anybody. And the governing documents of many of the states say things like, government of right comes from the consent of the governed. And the question is whether this is a collective, people, or this is an individual for people. Like, can you opt out? Should you be able to opt out when you never opted in?
You remember when I brought up that I disagreed with you that it was a dream? Minarchy is a dream. That's what's a dream.
Well, at the very least, if one state, a small state like New Hampshire or Vermont, secedes, then at least then you can have this minarchy within reach. You can easily go to Concord or Montpelier, and you can talk to those people. In New Hampshire, one of the reasons why New Hampshire was chosen as the destination for the Free State Project is these state reps make $100 a year. They're not professional politicians. They're people that you can go on the state website and get their home phone number. Yeah. You can't do that in wherever you live, most likely.
So you're with me. If people voluntarily want a local government, then there's nothing wrong with that, right?
Well, I think that if you've got 100% consent, then there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, that's what I think. I think people can move into small communities and start a government if that's what they want. Heck, they can have universal health care in that small area.
That's what a homeowners association is, right?
Right, there you go.
There you go.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.